Okay, I may have said some of this in class, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but the reason this homework is strangely numbered as 5A.1b, and the reason it has nothing to do with three-dimensional geometry, which is the new unit that we started yesterday, is because I wanted to insert one day of just going back over integer operations. I've been a bit concerned about adding and subtracting integers, not with all students, but with enough students that I just wanted to go over it formally one day in class, which we did today. And so now you're practicing on that tonight, and then we'll pick up our three-dimensional geometry unit tomorrow in class. I'd like to do problems 1E and 1F with you in that order. So problem 1E is the expression 16 minus the difference of -3 and 8. And so since it's 16 minus this difference, I have to find this difference first. And anytime I'm simplifying an expression, I want to keep all of this vertical space underneath the expression clear for all my, as I simplify a piece of the expression, I'm going to rewrite the expression. So if I want to do any work like -3 minus 8, if I want to think about that or do some computation about that, I'm going to do that on the side. And since that's in parentheses, I need to do that first because that's what's being subtracted from the 16. Now, -3 minus 8, for many of you, you just look at that and you automatically know what that difference is. If it's not automatic, or if you find yourself making mistakes on problems like this, then there's different ways to deal with that. You can think of a number line. You could even draw a number line. You don't have to draw one. You just have to visualize one, really. But if it helps you to draw one, just always sort of visualize, where's the 0? Where am I starting? I'm starting at -3, which of course is to the left of the 0. And then if I'm subtracting 8, I'm subtracting +8. I'm going to be going this way if I'm subtracting +8. And so I'm going to be some seemingly larger negative number. Of course, it's less than -3, but we're basically, what the important thing to know is we're going to the left. So where would I end up? I would end up at -11. 8 spaces to the left of the -3. But if that helps, that's great. If not, you can use the definition of subtraction. Subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So subtracting 8 is the same as adding the opposite of 8. So -3 minus +8 is the same as -3 plus the opposite of 8, which is -8. And if you're adding two negatives, you just get a negative, because it's like if I owe somebody $3 and I owe somebody $8, that combined debt will be a debt of $11. So there's lots of different ways to think about, integer addition and subtraction, but oftentimes if you're subtracting with integers, it's easiest to first turn it into an addition problem by remembering that subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. And so since this difference is -11, I'm going to substitute that for this expression right here, this part of our expression. So now I have 16 minus -11. Now I'm going to use the same definition of subtraction to change this to an addition problem. 16 minus -11 is the same as 16 plus the opposite of -11, which is +11. Subtracting is the same as adding the opposite of whatever you're subtracting. So if I was subtracting -11, it's the same as adding the opposite of -11, which is +11. And 16 plus 11 is 27. So another reason why I wanted to show this on the video is because this riddle, the way this puzzle works is pretty. I think they made it more complicated than is necessary. You're going to look for answers here. In other words, this is the answer to problem 1E. And then I would sort of just circle this to say, okay, I found the 27, and this is what you're looking for as far as filling in the answer to the riddle, 26S. So you go down here to the 26 and you write the letter S. Okay, so why don't you try to do problem 1F on your own if you haven't already done that, and then we'll come back. Let's write it. It's -2 minus -9 plus 75, and that'll give you a chance to practice some of the things we just talked about. So do that during the pause, and then come back and see if you get the same answer to that as I did.
Paused.
Okay, I'm going to deal with this difference the same way we dealt with it before. I'm going to change subtraction to addition by remembering that subtracting is the same as adding the opposite of whatever I was subtracting. So the opposite of -9 is +9. It doesn't change the minuend at all. It just changes the subtrahend. It changes the number that you are subtracting to its opposite. So subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. Okay, so now I have -2 plus 9 plus 75. I don't know how I wrote 97 there. -2 plus 9, that's just +7. If you have trouble with that, again, just think of a number line. And if you're at -2, you're starting at -2, you're 2 to the left. If you're adding 9, you're going to the right. You're adding +9, so that you're adding plenty, more than enough to get out of the negatives and into the positives, because you have to add 2 to get to 0. And then you add 7 more. That takes you to +7. So that sum is +7, and 7 plus 75 is 82. And 82 can be found right here. So on the riddle, underneath the 14, I'm going to write an A. And I'm just going to glance at my key to make sure I didn't make any mistakes there. Nope, that looks good. And then some of these, as you're doing these, there's 6 problems and there's 10 solutions. So obviously some of them are not used. And then as you're filling in these letters, it'll form a phrase, and so there'll be spaces in between the letters to separate the words, and it should give you an answer to this riddle. Again, you never need to do the riddle if you don't want to, but you should at least look to make sure that your answer is in here in this answer bank, because if not, then you probably made a mistake and you can go back and try to find it. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you tomorrow.